Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to the Pipe Farthing. My name is Mark, and in 2 days from recording this video, we have the date of October 7th, 2024. October 7th is a wonderful feast day called, it's the Feast of the Holy Rosary. And there is a tremendous history that goes behind this feast day. And today is the anniversary of that monumental date in history, and I want to tell you about it. I'm going to smoke a pipe while I do that. It's a wee bit warm today, so I'm going to smoke some Virginias today. So I'm going to be smoking Tidewater from the Country Squire. I was hoping to be fully into what I consider more of my fall blends, but it's just been too hot the last couple days, and so the Virginia blends come back out. So the feast day today, Feast of the Holy Rosary, that is a feast that comes from the largest naval battle in history, the Battle of Lepanto. One moment. Now, the Battle of Lepanto took place on October 7th, 1571. And it took place off the shores of Lepanto. Okay, look that up on your world map, see if you can find it. So, I'm not going to go into the background leading up to the battle so much. What I would like to discuss is three things. One, the holiness in this battle, the holiness of the Christian fleet, and the miracle that happened in this battle, and three pieces of battle genius. Okay, this battle took place between the Christian fleet put together by Pope Pius V, led by Don John of Austria. G.K. Chesterton calls him the last crusader, and the Turkish Ottoman fleet of the Turkish Ottoman Empire. Okay, Byzantium has already fallen. Constantinople has already fallen quite a bit ago. At this point, the Hagia Sophia had become a mosque. Okay, and the Turkish Ottoman Empire was expanding to the west. Okay, it had already laid siege to Vienna once and failed earlier in the century. And in the next century, the Turkish Ottoman Empire will ultimately fail trying to siege Vienna again. But in the middle of these two sieges of Vienna that are, 150 years apart or so, lies the Battle of Lepanto in 1571. Pope Pius V, who became Pope, I believe, in 1566, was a very holy Pope. He is a saint, and the Pope prior to him also was very good. I don't know if he's a saint or not. I think it was Pope Paul III. But both of them had really begun to institute wonderful reforms in the church, okay? So at this time in history, this is post-Renaissance. The Renaissance had been happening, and Italy, and including Rome, had really gotten into the Renaissance. Let's just put it simply, elevated worldly goods and pleasures too high of a place in priority versus the spiritual life. Let's just keep it that simple, okay? Not that one was completely gone. It's just they were two into one, neglecting the other, okay? So in the rest of Europe, there are also issues going on. France had massive internal political and religious strife going on. Spain had a lot of strife going on. They were probably, I think, maybe the largest empire at the time in the West, for sure. And they were dealing with a lot of issues on their borders, especially in the south part of Spain, where the Muslims were, and they were dealing with uprisings for them and trying to keep them at bay. So Spain had a lot of issues going on. And in England and in Germany, they had their religious stuff going on, which was really spreading throughout all of Christendom. This is post-Reformation, right? What I'll call post-revolution, unfortunately, because it led to a split, which is not good. Reform is good, revolution is bad, and unity broke down, which is unfortunate. That's a whole nother video that I don't want to go into here, but it led to an issue in this battle because Pope Pius V saw this Turkish fleet coming, and he knew they were coming from Rome, and if they hit Rome and they take Rome, the whole West is going to be conquered, which would not be a good thing. So all these countries that I stated were not willing to offer resources, okay? Spain ends up giving most of the resources, which is good. Well, I don't know about most, but a majority. But Don John, the leader of the whole fleet, comes from Spain. England and Germany, they're just completely self-absorbed, and so they don't give anything. If it has anything to do with the Pope, the new Protestants aren't going to give any attention to what he's asking for. And the West was almost lost because of that, which is very unfortunate. So the Holy Fleet, called the Holy League, ends up being put together. They head offshore to go face the Turks. One of the reasons why Don John was selected to lead the fleet is because of his, essentially his humility, his holiness. He was only 24 years old, and he had his head and his heart on straight. The Christian fleet was a total of I'm just going to use rough numbers, roughly 300 vessels. The Ottoman fleet, about 100 more, okay? There were masses being said on the ships, confessions being heard on the ships, right up until the battle would begin. There were no women allowed on the ships. If you blasphemed God, you could be put to death. This was, as Pope Pius V saw, a holy battle. This is a holy war. This is a spiritual battle that's going on, okay? And so that was taken very seriously. And thankfully, Don John took that very seriously. There were priests on board from several orders of the day, like Franciscans, Dominicans, Jesuits, and there was another one too. I can't remember the name. But they're on board with their crucifixes, on big staffs, and again, saying masses, hearing confessions. This was a spiritual battle. So we have a total of about 400 or 700 vessels in this battle, which does make it by far the largest naval battle of all history. So now let's focus on the other aspects. I already said this was holiness was part of it. So the Holy League was taking their faith in Christ extremely seriously for this battle. There was 3 pieces of genius for battle and still a miracle that's happened. So let's talk about that. The fleets are coming together, all right? The wind is against the Christians. So now they've got all of their people down below, slaves, a lot, right? Rowing and rowing, and they couldn't come up to fight because they had to row against the wind. Where the Muslims had the wind in their sails and were able to probably bring up some slaves to fight, right? Don John, he takes another boat and he kind of jumps from boat to, or in front of the boats, encouraging them. He gets back on the main boat and he kneels down to pray. And in turn, the entire fleet kneels down to pray. And while they're praying, the winds shift. The winds are now on the backs of the Christian Holy League, and Muslims have to take down their sails, have everybody row. The Holy League takes down or puts up their sails, and brings up a good amount of the rowers up and puts swords in their hands. They gain, I want to say they might have gained like 10,000 extra fighters because of that. So there's the miracle that happens. Now, they're still way outnumbered. The Ottoman fleet they've had many successes, so they are very confident in their battle. You can hear they're beating drums, they're making noise, lots and lots of confidence. Must have instilled a lot of fear in the Holy League. So let's talk about the three pieces of battle genius. One, Don John sets up where he sets out, I think it was 6 boats about a mile ahead of the rest of the fleet, and they're heavily armed. And usually at that point in history, I'm pretty sure this is how they would do it, is it was mostly ships would ram, and then they would board each other, and it was hand-to-hand combat at that point. That's, I think, how naval battles pretty much happened at that time. And so these 6 ships went out heavily armed, and instead of ramming the ships of the Turks, they went between them and just started launching cannon fire into these boats. They sank a bunch of ships, and basically, so cut through, just firing away, going almost like kamikaze on them, right? And so that helped. And then what would often happen, the boats would ram each other, okay? They'd have these big battering rams in the front of their ship, would ram each other, and then they would drift side to side. They would throw their hooks over, they'd start boarding, just like in the movies, I guess, right? Well, Don John had a pretty ingenious idea. He's like, well, you put a hole at the water level of a ship, and we're going to sink that ship. So he took a risk. He took that battering ram out and put a cannon in front instead. So he's going to take a brunt of the damage based on the head-to-head collision, or the ships will. But once they collide, they'll fire that cannon right at basically the water line and sink the ships. That was extremely successful. Okay? For these other boats, or where that wasn't successful and they started to board, they had nets on the side of the ships. And so when the Muslims wanted to start boarding the Christian ships, they threw these nets up, and it was just catching them like fish in nets, and musket fire was able to take them out. So it's kind of like, what's that phrase? Shooting fish in a barrel, catching fish in a barrel, something like that. And so that's the third piece. So we had the ships going out ahead, the battering rams replaced with cannons, and then the nets on the side of the ship. The battle was really, the Christians overran the Muslims. Within 4 hours, the battle was done. The numbers as far as the defeat was drastically different. I believe the Holy League captured 200 of their vessels, sank a bunch of them. The comparisons didn't even match up. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head. I didn't want to get into that in this video, so I didn't relook that up. But this is an amazing day. It is Lepanto Day, the day I'm releasing this video. That's what my brother and I call it, is Lepanto Day, but it's the feast of the Holy Rosary, commemorating Pope Pius V's Holy League, which saved the West, saved Christendom, and is probably the reason why we are not all Muslim today, to be honest with you. Lots of miracles happened in this. It's a very, very amazing event. During the battle, in fact, in the hour that the Holy League won, Pius V was in, I believe, a meeting of some sort, and he went into what I guess would look like kind of a trance, probably some sort of prayerful ecstasy, had this vision, and then he came to and said something along the lines of, this hour the Lord has granted us a great victory. Well, later, when the fleet came back, they put 2 and 2 together, and that happened at the same hour that the Holy League defeated the Turkish Ottoman fleet. So pretty amazing. Pius V then made that feast day, he called that Our Lady of Victory. I believe it was the next Pope, Gregory, maybe the 13th, Gregory the something, changed it to Our Lady of the Holy Rosary, because he didn't want it to have such a temporal battle feel to that feast day. but in time, because I think it was like the first Saturday of October, now it is on the actual day of the battle, the largest naval battle in history, the day that the West was saved. There was one book I encourage you to check out on this that has a lot of the details I mentioned and many, many more. It's called Lepanto. It's put out by the, I think the Chesterton Society, the American Chesterton Society. There's a few essays in here, as well as the poem by G.K. Chesterton, which I thought about reading, but it would probably take too long, and I'm not the best at doing that sort of thing. So this video, 16 minutes, I think is long enough. I'm going to relight my pipe, enjoy the hot weather in the shade. Happy Lepanto Day. Our Lady of the Rosary, pray for us. God bless you all. Talk to you later.